love him or hate him, very polarizing. D'Angelo as well. Is it worth keeping him around and paying him that money? I think for D'Angelo, I think it's smart to keep him around. I mean, this is a guy who could potentially put up like 60 points this year. I mean, those type of defensemen don't grow on trees, as high as we are on Condre and Lundqvist and all the other young guys. He's doing it at a young age. We don't know if those guys will in the NHL. It's always a crapshoot with prospects. D'Angelo is doing it. So I think he's a guy you probably want to keep around out of all of them, that we're looking at: Kreider, Foss, Strome, Georgiev. I think D'Angelo is the one guy for me I'd like to keep. If I had to pick one, he's the guy I like to keep around because just putting up those points on the back end are just huge. You're going to be losing Stahl soon. You're not sure if Hayek is going to be this great player. Shea is a guy who may not be around either. They may be looking to trade him at some point. So I think keeping D'Angelo around is probably the smartest move.
Well, let me ask you this. Since we have no games, we got the break here, and maybe just to throw something at you too, and I'll ask the fans this too. What if, well, I guess the question is, one way or the other, KD, do you absolutely feel that the Rangers, one way or the other, if the parts are there, that they've got to move guys at the trading deadline? So I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. If nothing comes across the table for JD and Gordon, are you okay with settling with this team for the rest of the season and then going into training camp next year as they are currently built? Let's just say, for argument's sake, and forget about the goaltending situation. Let's just say, they were sticking with Hank and Georgie regardless for the future until Hank's, contract, ran out, and Shesterkin's going to just keep developing down in the farm team. Would you be content with this team as it is right now, or do you feel absolutely they've got to move somebody, they've got to do something this year, regardless?
To me, a lot of it depends on the contracts that they'd be willing to give to, these guys. If the team is going to be the same and Kreider has a 7-year, $7 million contract, no, I'm not happy about that. If it's the same team and Kreider has a 5-year, $6 million contract, I'm a lot happier. Because I don't like to see him, and 5-year is at my limit with him. If you get him a 3-year contract, I'd be even happier. Mm-hmm. But there is a salary cap. You can't just start just throwing money again. All these we've made those mistakes before. We've waited too long in certain respects to try to trade people and giving them one contract too many. So with Girardi, you're seeing with Stahl. They were smart with Callahan. I think that they were smart getting rid of McDonough when they did. As terrible as it is to get rid of those two guys, because I just absolutely love them. You need to look at. They were smart getting rid of Brassard when they did for Zibanejad. I mean, how amazing is that trade? So you don't want to see them make that kind of Girardi Stahl mistake with Kreider or with Strome. Again, I'd like to see D'Angelo back, but and even Fost, on a much smaller level, because I don't think it'll cost that much to bring him back. I wouldn't mind trading him at the deadline and then re-signing him in the offseason. I think that would be a great plan for Fost, because I think some team would probably overpay for him because he's such. And I mentioned this last show. I just think he would be an amazing piece to a Stanley Cup contender. But I really would hate to see the Rangers make a mistake and give Kreider too long of a deal, where at the last 3 years of that are a complete albatross. When we're ready to contend and he's falling off and we need another piece, but we can't get it because his contract is getting in the way, So, for me, it all depends on the contracts that could potentially be given, and I'd also hate to lose Kreider, for nothing or Foss for nothing. If they don't make a deal at the deadline for either one of them, and I don't know why they couldn't. I think there's plenty of teams that would be willing to give up good, strong assets for them. But if they don't, and then you lose them both for nothing because you don't want to give them those contracts at the end of the year. Again, and I mentioned a couple of shows ago, you're looking at a sort of a Tavares situation where the Islanders ended up with nothing for him. Mm-hmm. And that's like worst case scenario, where you didn't end up with any assets for the guy. And now he ended up signing with like the Penguins, and then, whoever. And you ended up, now you're dealing with him for the next couple of years with him scoring, hat tricks on you every time, he plays against you, like he did, when Tortorella came into the Garden his first time, and Kreider dropped a hat trick on him. But, I think for me, that's worst case scenario is not trading those guys. And then, Kreider's looking for that mega deal, that one last huge contract. And then you're like, no, that's too much. See you later. And then you end up with nothing. So, sure, would I love to have Kreider around? Absolutely. I still think he's going to be very good for the next 3 years or so. So if you can get 3-4 years, so if you can get him in a 3 or 4 year contract, I'm very happy about it. If it's longer than that, I get concerned.
Well, Monday, February 24th couldn't come any quicker for all of us. I think, the Rangers fan base is just going to be, they've got that date circled. Obviously, something could happen before then. And it'd be great. It'd be great to know, and hopefully it's happening, that behind the scenes the JD and is getting calls and Gorton are getting calls, and maybe something's brewing. I have to believe something's brewing with Shesterkin coming back up. It'll be interesting to see what happens. As far as the forward guys, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, there's a lot of smoke out there, and where there's smoke.
But it's very unusual, KD, for a team. I just think it's unusual for what they're doing with Shesterkin, with 2 healthy goaltenders that are already up here, and to bring a third one up. It's very unusual.
But again,
you have to hope something's brewing. Yeah,
but Elliot Friedman, who's very respected as far as rumors, he's usually in the know of what's going on. He's saying
his name is Elliot. Come on.
I don't care what his name is.
No disrespect to Elliot.
That's right. The 5 Elliot listeners that we have just turned off the show. Good job, Paulie. So, look, that could be the way they're going again. And we've mentioned it, they're not just going to give your giveaway. Again, if there's a package out there for a guy like Kapanen,
trade them both, like I said.
They're probably doing it. But if there's if teams think, well, we're trading for a backup goalie, he's your backup goalie, we're not giving you a young potential stud, winger. What are you, crazy? This is your backup goalie. So, maybe they're just like, well, I guess we'll just hang on to him. He's young, he's cheap, and, we'll figure it out over the summer. Maybe we could talk Lundqvist into waiving his no-move clause over the summer. Or maybe Georgiev becomes more valuable.
You got a better chance.
To teams over the summer.
You got a better chance of asking Hank to change the wave in his hair to the other side.
That's true, and that's his right. That's it. Look, he earned, like I said before, he earned that right. He earned the no-move clause, and look, he has the ability to do it. It's going to turn fans off, but he's earned that right. So what are you going to do?
All right, well, hopefully something happens so we can all get our sanity back here at the end of the month. So, look, your buddy Anderson, they kind of smooth things over, and the Rangers have lent him to, is this really the name of the team, HV71? It sounds like, doctor gives you hey, you've got HV71, buddy. But good thing there, I guess, to get him going. And I know we were talking last week about this, the whole thing about smoothing things over with JD and him is just possibly having him in a piece of a trade or whatever. But quick take on him actually getting back on the ice with another team, at least in Sweden.
Yeah, a smart move by the Rangers. Just get him back on the ice, get him playing again. Hopefully he lights it up over there. Goodness, if he doesn't light it up over there, then we're never going to be able to trade him. But it's good. I'm sure he'll figure it out over there. He's, back home around family, that whole thing. And maybe
the hospitality.
There you go.
There you go,
I love that.
Making
you
sure
gotta make
he's
everyone
comfy.
happy. Gotta make everyone happy. he's a person too, Paulie. Um,
Put the puck in the net, kid, and get back in the lineup.
hey, look, you can't. I'm gonna get a little, little psychological on you, but
Oh.
you can't underestimate just the confidence of these guys and being in a good place. I mean, these guys all have just such immense talent, and it's really the guys who play with that confidence and the confidence, that doesn't waver, that take their talent to the next level. I can tell you when I was playing hockey or I was playing lacrosse, whenever I felt good about myself, the puck or the lacrosse ball was the size of a beach ball. And when I got down on myself, it was the size of a pea. And, it's just amazing how your mindset when you're out on the field or out on the ice, changes, your, physical abilities where you have that confidence. So, you could tell that Anderson, after everything he's been through, and I'm not saying he wasn't, I don't necessarily think he was given, the proper chances while he was here. Look, the guy lost confidence and is probably lost. And that's why you see him sort of struggling on the ice a little bit. So, if he can get back to playing and scoring some goals and starting to feel good about himself, I think you'll see him hopefully get back to the player, that he was when the Rangers decided to draft him, seventh overall. And maybe you get him back here, and again, he's feeling good about himself. He starts scoring some goals in the AHL, and next thing he's part of the rebuild again. But again, I don't think you can.
You are reaching, my brother.
It's true. I mean that stuff is like real. Again, it's the guy. You look at any of the top players in any sport. They're the most confident guys out there. They never doubt their ability. As soon as you start doubting your ability, that's when you start struggling. It's why you see guys have these super great years, and then the next year or so, you wonder like what happened to this guy. He may have just run into a little bit of bad luck and then lost confidence. And then from there, it's just, you go the wrong way. So, again, yeah, is that going to definitely happen to Anderson? He scores like 5 goals and, what's in the R2D2 league team he's on or whatever the hell the name of the team is. What's it called? HV17?
Yeah.
71?
HV71.
Oh, not R2D2.
Here's your prescription, sir. Please check out of the door.
Is he suddenly, going to be Wayne Gretzky, in a couple of months? No. But, he could ultimately become a productive NHLer. So that's all I'm saying.
Yes. Another, unknown mystery that us Ranger fans have to sort of deal with. I really, I know we don't do this, and we should probably do it a little more often. But, again, we're a Ranger show. But you kind of, as far as other teams and in the league and what they're dealing with and a lot of the chaos that's going on in the rest of the league. I mean, just in general, the Rangers kind of mulling through this and, seeing, I guess the only thing that matters to us, as far as a standings point is the Metro and that wild card spot, which we're just keep continuing to fade away. And there's a tough, schedule coming up here along the way. And it'll be interesting to see if they tease us by, they have to go in. They got to beat Detroit this weekend and get those points. And then, they've got a bit of a homestand here. We can see what happens. A couple of tough teams coming in. But just this, this little ride that we're going to have to kind of sit back and watch and see where they're going. But, you wonder just the rest of the league and other teams that have to deal with this in terms of cap. And, the biggest things that have been happened throughout the league has been coaching changes, obviously. To some teams that have done pretty well, obviously, going deep in the playoffs the last couple of years. And here's this, here we are, the New York Rangers and all the money and the big lights and the great building and obviously the big star with Panarin and everything else and stuff. And we're teetering here with, second and third line kind of guys, as far as, the forward situation in terms of, I mean, not to keep harping on this trade situation, but they're not really. I mean, is Kreider going to make a big impact on a team? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah,
you don't think so?
I don't know.
He's been a big time postseason performer. I mean, his game is perfect for the postseason. He's got that physical edge. He's big in front of the net. Yeah, I think so. He's a top six, you know, potential, 25 to 30 goal scorer,